Hello, everyone. Today we will be moving through a hip opening yin yoga sequence to really open up those hips and activate receiving mode to let go and just receive. So, the yin yoga practice is a little bit different than a flow based class. We are going to be holding these postures anywhere between 3 to 5 minutes. For the purpose of this class, it'll be about 3 minutes. So, just be aware of that. We're going to get deep into the connective tissues. So, this practice exercises joints and connective tissues using these longer held postures. Now, if you want something a little bit more personalized, I also offer one-on-one private sessions. I'll link that in the description below. And if you want a free target area reference chart that details specific yoga poses that target areas of the body that you want to work on specifically, that's going to be free when you sign up to my newsletter. And I'll link that in the description as well. So let's go ahead and get started right away. Let's do half butterfly pose. Send the right leg out straight, left foot to the inside of the thigh, gazing towards the toes, and just relax down over the right knee. Drop the head and neck. So we'll hold this for a total of 3 minutes. And there are a few things to be aware of when it comes to the yin practice. First of all, this practice is targeting specific areas of the body. In this pose, we are focusing on the right hamstring. So make sure that you are indeed feeling that stretch. If you're not, feel free to move around, experiment with different variations that allow you to find that stretch in the body. This is different than a flow class in that we don't care about alignment here. It's more important that you feel that specific stretch. It doesn't matter so much what your body looks like as long as you're feeling that stretch. So feel free to explore. So I will say, try to make any movements that you need to more towards the start of the pose. The power of this type of class comes from the time that we're spending in each posture. So the longer you can find stillness, the more benefits you're going to be able to find. Now, secondly, we will be holding these poses and getting into some really deep stretches. And it's one thing to just feel uncomfortable. That's normal. But if at any point you just don't feel like this feels right to your body, if you feel like you feel unsafe at any time, please just slowly and carefully back out. You can take a different variation. You can take a whole nother pose entirely. Just do what's right for your body. And that's why it's important to really be listening to what your body has to say here. Pay attention to the sensations that you're feeling. This is a practice of listening and paying attention to our bodies as well. I also recommend against pulling or pushing yourself deeper down into the pose. This is more a practice of being gentle with our bodies. There's no need to push, there's no need to pull. In fact, you could be doing damage to these tissues over time if you continue to do that, make it a habit. So just allow your body to just naturally unfold with the force of gravity. And you'll know, if you listen to your body, you'll know when it's time to move deeper. And on your next inhale, go ahead and lift on up. Let's move to the other side. Extend the left leg forward. Right foot to the inside of the thigh. Gazing towards the left toes. And relaxing down here. Again, we'll be here for about 3 minutes. Feeling that stretch in the left hamstring. Now, in this pose, we will be holding for long periods of time. So just make sure whatever variation you choose, you're going to be able to sustain for the full 3 minutes. I usually recommend starting about 6 or 7 out of 10 on the intensity scale, just allowing your body to naturally unfold from there. There's always time to go deeper, so it's okay to start slow. So those are kind of the basics, things to know about with the yin practice. We definitely have different names for the poses. As you may have noticed, this one's called half butterfly, when usually it's called seated tree. The reason for that is because by naming these poses differently, you're able to shift into this new attitude that you can bring into the yin practice. And of course, it is a practice of listening to your body as well. So I'll leave you here in silence for the next few minutes just to reflect on what you're experiencing internally. Next, inhale, press back up. Extend both legs out. Let's come to find a resting pose on our backs. We call this pinnacle pose. You might know this as Shavasana, but this is more of a position that we take in order to just allow those stretches to integrate through our bodies. Just notice the feelings that come up as an after effect of that pose. When you're ready, you can draw the knees into the chest. Maybe rock from side to side if that feels good. Maybe make circles with the knees. There's no right or wrong here. Go ahead and hinge up, send the legs up to the sky, lower the heels to hover, swiftly pop them back up, rock forward to a seat. Awesome. All right, next we're going to take full butterfly. Bring the soles of the feet together, the knees apart, and you have options here. If you want to get deeper into the insides of the hips, bring the feet closer in. If you want to get more on the outsides of the hips, more along the lines of the hamstrings, bring them farther out. And you can take any variation in between. So there's kind of a spectrum of a stretch that you can experience. Inhale and exhale, hinge forward, allow the head and neck to drop. Again, we'll be here for 3 minutes, so just relax. This practice strengthens the joints and the connective tissues. So even though we are staying still, it is a form of exercise. Now, you're not going to look in the mirror and see yourself losing weight or building muscle as a result, but you are going to deepen your flexibility, find a greater sense of mobility, greater sense of freedom, of lightness in the body. When you strengthen the joints and connective tissues, what you're also doing is you're setting up a foundation for the rest of your exercise routine. Most of the injuries that occur with traditional muscle exercise tend to happen in the joints and the connective tissue. And so the more you strengthen these tissues, the better off you're going to be in terms of your risk management for those injuries. We're often taught about anti-aging for the skin, but not so much anti-aging for the body. And when you make this a regular practice, you might find that as you age, you might be less reliant on walkers, wheelchairs, or caregivers, finding a sense of freedom in those golden years. When you're ready, inhale, press yourself up. Close the knees and just relax back down on your back in pentacle pose, finding stillness here, and just notice the effects of that posture on the body. When you're ready, inhale, send the legs up to the sky. We'll hinge up, lower the heels to hover, swiftly pop them back up. Rock forward to a seat. Yeah. All right. Next, we're going to come into half hero. So go ahead and bring the left foot back behind you towards the outside of the hips with the toes back. And go ahead and relax down. You can come to the forearms. You can stay up if this is enough, or you can come down to the forearms or all the way down onto your back. This pose targets the left quadricep. If it's too much for the knee, you can turn the toes to face out. That might make a difference. You might also feel better bringing that knee farther out towards the side. Just feeling that stretch in the left quadricep. So what we're doing in today's practice is we're going on all four sides of the hips. The front of the hips, which is the quadricep, the back of the hips, which is the hamstring. That's what we did in that half butterfly. We're going to get to the inside of the hips after this. We're going to also get to the outside of the hips as well. So the whole lower half of the body is going to feel really nice after this practice. For a nice, well-rounded hip opening sequence. The yin yoga practice is very different than other types of movement based yoga. And it definitely takes a different attitude coming into this. There are a few different training programs when it comes to this kind of practice, and not many of them are really true to the standard yin practice that was performed and taught by Paul Grilly, who is known as the father of this practice. I actually trained from a man that trained directly under him. His name is Douglas Johnson. I'll link his profile too if you guys want to check him out. He goes by Mahapatha Yoga on YouTube. So shout out to Doug. Hi, Doug, if you're watching. So this kind of practice stays true to the original yin practitioner and what he had in mind. When you're ready, go ahead and slowly press yourself up. Straighten out the left leg. Let's move to the other side. Bend the right knee. Bring the right foot back. And lower down if you want to go deeper. We'll be here for 3 minutes. So again, this will target the right quadriceps. Make sure you're feeling that. If not, you might need to take it deeper or a different variation. And it is normal for one side to feel different than the other side. If that's the case, feel free to take a different variation. There's no reason why you have to take the same variation on one side versus the other side. Our bodies move differently on one side versus the other. So sometimes you just need to take a different variation to balance it out. Balance doesn't necessarily mean that we do things exactly the same on one side and the other. It's not so cut and dry, especially with the yin practice. So just listen to your body. Your body will tell you what it would like to experience in this pose. We have about 1 more minute here. When you're ready, go ahead and just slowly press back up. Lift the right knee, straighten the leg all the way, and lie all the way back down on your back for pinnacle pose. Pause here in stillness, just noticing what you're feeling as a result. If it feels weird, just observe. Don't judge it as good or bad, just notice. And then when you're ready, draw the knees into the chest. Make any movements here that feel good. There's no right or wrong. You can take a happy baby. Maybe just making circles with the knees. Just whatever you need to do to break up that tension in the body. There's really no right or wrong. Let's hinge up. Send the legs up. Lower to hover. Sweep them back up. Rock to a seat. Woof. So now we're going to get into the inside of the hips. Face the long edge of your mat. Send the legs out to either side. We're coming into dragonfly pose. You might know this as a wide-legged forward fold. Start to hinge forward here. You can stay up on the palms of the hands. You can drop down to the elbows. Wherever feels good. We're going to be holding for 3 minutes here. You'll feel this stretch on the insides of the hips. I forgot to mention there's no real breath work associated with the yin practice, but if you want to focus on your breath, just observe it. That is one technique that you can try if you wanted to incorporate the breath in some way in this practice. So our connective tissue, we're also finding that it stores memory in the body. So one of the things that we're doing with the yin practice is that we are releasing those memories that have been stored sometimes for many years. A lot of times if we encounter some kind of stress or painful situation, a trauma, and we just don't have time, resources, or energy to release that. It has to go somewhere. It has to be stored physically, and it's stored in these connective tissues. So we can go to all the therapy we want. We can do all the emotional healing techniques, the journaling, but sometimes we just have to also release it physically in order to fully move on. This really unlocks certain traumas and certain stresses that have been built over time. If you do feel emotional in this practice, that's normal. Just observe it. Try not to judge. And you can journal about it later to process what happened. But just know that if that happens to you, that is really just your body naturally releasing those emotions as a part of the healing process. And when you're ready, go ahead and just press back up. slide the legs back together. Find pentacle pose one more time. Resting in stillness. Noticing what you're feeling with a non-judgmental perspective. Go ahead and draw the knees in and just make any movements that feel good. Maybe you circle the knees. Maybe extend one leg and the other. Whatever you need to do here. We'll hinge up. Lower the heels, swiftly pop up. Rock to a seat. Yeah. All right, now we're going to get to the insides of the hips. We're going to take square pose. Align one shin parallel to the top edge of the mat. The left shin on top of it. So as you can see, it's called square pose. It looks like a square. If there's a big gap between the knee and the foot, you can wedge a block under here. Sometimes just one corner of the block is enough. And as an alternative, if this pose doesn't work for you, you can also take sleeping swan, also known as pigeon pose. This pose is also called double pigeon. So we're going to feel it in both hips. If this is enough, stay here, or you can start to hinge forward. Or maybe coming all the way down onto the forearms. Wherever you are is completely okay. Just know you don't have to force it. You don't have to push it. You're going to feel this one in both hips. Probably more the left hip than the right, since is the hip that's on top. But, we're also just targeting the outsides of those hips. And so the other thing that happens when we unlock these tissues, we're letting the memories of the past go free. That opens up space to receive something new. We're letting go to bring in things that do serve us into our lives. Activating receiving mode is just as simple as leaning back, allowing what no longer serves to exit your life, exit your mind, exit your body, coming into that open-minded, receptive state. It can be hard for some of us to receive. Maybe we think that we owe something in exchange for it, that we have to do something. Maybe it takes a lot of effort or willpower to make something happen. But that is just a part of our programmed beliefs. True receiving, it's just like receiving any kind of gift and just accepting the gifts that the world is presenting us. A true gift is giving without expectation of anything in return. And so true receiving is allowing us to appreciate what we are being given without feeling like we have to earn it or do something for it. is just accepting in gratitude. When you're ready, go ahead and press yourself up. Let's switch legs. Lean back just a tad to then place the left shin on the bottom, the right shin on top. And stay right here if this is enough. Not just hinge forward. You'll feel it in both hips at the same time, but primarily the right hip. And again, if you need to take a sleeping swan, also known as pigeon pose, as an alternative. Deer pose also works as well. I will say that because sometimes if you have a tight hip flexor, you might need to take deer pose. That's when you connect the knee. It's kind of like pigeon, but you're connecting that back knee to the front sole of the foot, if that makes sense. So I think you guys are going to really feel nice and open here after today's class. The hips are so important because a lot of tension gets stored here, especially if you're sitting for long periods of time. If you're working in an office, one of the other things I also offer is corporate yoga. So I'll come into a business, a company, and even if you guys work from home, I can do it over Zoom as well. The video quality is going to be the same as this video quality here. And I just come in and, a lot of times if you're sitting for long periods of time, it's not the most sustainable type of lifestyle. So we can either do a desk stretch, just sitting, doing some chair yoga, or something gentle, a gentle flow, or even yin yoga. That's an option as well. And it definitely helps the companies save on their insurance premiums, and it helps the employees find more of that sense of balance in their lives. So if you do work at a company and want to bring this into the office, shoot me a message. You can send me an email. That'll be in the description below. If you're new here, I post twice a week on Mondays. We kind of go over a general theme, go deep into some kind of philosophy or just theme of the week. And then we practice yoga on Fridays with a sequence that really locks in that message. So you experience it, feeling it through all the cells of your body here. On your next inhale, press yourself up. Bring the hands behind you, uncross the legs. You can send them out long, come all the way down on your back, pinnacle pose. For one last time, you might feel some sensations through your legs or through your hips here. Just notice. And then you can bring the knees in, maybe rock from side to side, extending the legs. You can also plant the feet, windshield wiper the knees from left to right. There's no right or wrong. And let's hinge up one more time. Lower heels to hover, pop them up. Rock forward to a seat. So in the yin practice, Shavasana is not necessary. We take those pinnacle poses to integrate the stretches in between. So we'll go ahead and wrap up here. Bring the hands to the heart. Let's take 3 deep breaths all together. Deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Inhale. Sigh it out. One more deep breath. Let it go. Thank you for joining me in practice today. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you like this content. I'll see you next time. Namaste.